Imagine waking up one morning to find that the simple act of swinging your legs out of bed feels heavier than it did yesterday. You recall how, not long ago, a leisurely stroll through the park left you energized, and now, even the thought of taking those first steps seems daunting. It's a subtle change, one that starts with noticing a hint of stiffness behind your knees or a fleeting ache in your calves. You chalk it up to getting older, until you learn that some of the healthy fruits you've been enjoying all your life might be quietly chipping away at your leg strength. 1. Pineapple. Few fruits conjure the promise of sunshine and refreshment as vividly as the pineapple. Its golden flesh and tropical fragrance long celebrated for both flavor and purported health benefits. Many seniors embrace pineapple as a natural anti-inflammatory, thanks largely to bromelain, an enzyme that has earned praise for easing digestive discomfort and reducing swelling in younger individuals. Yet beneath its sweet tang and reputation as a remedy lies a hidden challenge for aging body zone that unfolds not with drama, but with the quiet persistence of time. Pineapple's natural sugars, though unrefined and entirely whole, enter the bloodstream with surprising speed, provoking a surge in blood glucose that mature blood vessels, no longer as resilient as they once were, struggle to manage. This sugar spike, repeated meal after meal or snack after snack, subtly damages the microvasculature that nourishes muscles and joints, particularly those of the lower limbs. Over weeks and months, impaired circulation translates into that familiar sense of heaviness in the calves, the stiffness in the knees upon rising from a seated position, and the nagging ache in the thighs that outlasts even a brief walk. Meanwhile, the same acids that give pineapple its zesty bite-citric and malic acids sacked upon aging cartilage much like wind upon a smoldering ember, stoking the embers of arthritis and joint inflammation until an innocuous slice of fruit begets real discomfort. Even bromelain itself, often touted as a bonus for its ability to thin mucus and reduce inflammation, can interfere unpredictably with common medications taken by seniors, from blood thinners to certain blood pressure drugs. The result is a twofold assault. On one hand, the vascular wear of repeated sugar surges. On the other, the physiological tug-of-war between acid and enzyme, each seeking its own equilibrium. What makes pineapple's impact so insidious is its very nature. It performs no grand, immediate betrayal. Instead, it weaves a tapestry of cumulative strain, the micro-tears in capillaries, the slow erosion of cartilage resilience, the background hum of inflammation that most would dismiss as just getting older. By the time it becomes clear that a beloved snack has become an unwelcome adversary, the signs are so familiar: leg fatigue, swollen ankles, joint soreness, that we scarcely trace them back to the fruit bowl. For seniors who cherish pineapple's taste and tradition, this is not a call to abandon it altogether, but to employ newfound wisdom, limiting portions, enjoying pineapple alongside protein or healthy fats to blunt its glycemic impact, choosing fresh slices over canned-in syrup, and perhaps most importantly, listening to the body's messages after each bite can transform pineapple from a silent saboteur into an occasional delight. In doing so, older adults honor both their love of flavor and their commitment to preserving strength, ensuring that each step remains steady and every sunrise feels a little brighter. 2. Bananas. Bananas have long been hailed as a wholesome, potassium-rich snack, soft, sweet, and easy to eat, but for many seniors, their comforting familiarity can mask a subtle threat to leg strength and overall well-being. A single medium banana contains roughly 27 grams of carbohydrates, including about 14 grams of natural sugar. And while younger bodies can typically handle that sugar load with relative ease, mature metabolisms and delicate blood vessels cannot. When a senior eats a banana, the fruit's fast-digesting starches and sugars enter the bloodstream rapidly, provoking a spike in blood glucose that demands an equally swift insulin response. Over time, this repeated surge of insulin contributes to insulin resistance and impairs the microcirculation responsible for delivering oxygen and nutrients to muscles and joints, particularly those in the lower limbs. Without adequate oxygenation, calves grow prone to tightness and cramping. The thighs begin to ache after only a few steps, and the knees stiffen as the joints suffer from chronic, low-grade inflammation. Compounding this, bananas' high carbohydrate content encourages fluid retention, a concern made even more serious for those contending with heart conditions or compromised kidney function. Sudden puffiness in the ankles and a sense of heaviness in the legs may follow a single banana too many. Moreover, many seniors reach for bananas without pairing them with protein or healthy fats that would otherwise help blunt their glycemic impact, allowing the sugar to flood the system untempered and deepen vascular wear. Even the fiber content, often cited as a benefit, offers only partial resistance to the rapid absorption of banana sugars, meaning that the promised sustained energy can quickly give way to fatigue and a dragging sensation in the legs. The fruit's smooth texture and gentle sweetness lull us into thinking we've made the healthiest choice. But what feels like a benign snack can, over weeks and months, erode the very strength we seek to preserve. That sense of something wrong in the calves, the unexplained swelling of the feet, the dull ache behind the knee sole too often become accepted as the inevitable markers of age rather than red flags signaling dietary missteps. For seniors wishing to continue enjoying bananas without surrendering their mobility, a few adjustments can make all the difference. Opting for slightly underripe bananas with lower glycemic indices, limiting portions to half a banana at a time, and always combining banana slices with a source of protein such as a spoonful of Greek yogurt or a handful of nuts to slow sugar release into the bloodstream. By respecting both the fruit's natural sweetness and the realities of an aging body, older adults can transform bananas from a stealthy saboteur into an occasional treat, preserving circulation, minimizing inflammation, and keeping each step of life as strong and steady as it deserves to be. 3. Grapes. Grapes may look like the perfect snack, bite-sized bursts of sweetness that seem almost too innocent to harm, but for seniors, these tiny fruits can conceal a significant threat to leg strength and joint comfort. What few realize is that grapes are loaded with fructose, a simple sugar that bypasses many of the body's usual safeguards and heads straight to the liver for processing. In younger, more resilient bodies, moderate fructose intake may be handled without much fanfare, but as we age, our livers often struggle to keep pace. When that happens, excess fructose is converted into uric acid and stored as fat, creating a double burden: the formation of uric acid crystals in and around joints, and a mild fatty infiltration of liver tissue that further undermines metabolic health. The uric acid crystals are especially insidious, lodging themselves in the smallest joints of the feet, the delicate cartilage of the ankles, and the knee crevices where movement is most frequent. Seniors might wake at night feeling a sudden, burning sting in their big toe, or notice an inexplicable stiffness in their calves after a gentle stroll. Over time, this low-grade but persistent inflammation wears away at joint linings, making each step a little heavier, each rise from a chair a bit slower, and each flight of stairs a small mountain to conquer. Equally troubling is how fructose-driven inflammation seeps into the microvasculatura, the tiny capillaries that deliver oxygen and nutrients deep into our leg muscles. As those vessels become damaged or narrowed by inflammatory processes, muscles receive less oxygen, fostering fatigue, cramps, and a dull ache that won't relent even after rest. This impaired circulation also slows the removal of metabolic waste, leaving lactic acid and other byproducts to accumulate and intensify discomfort. Because grapes are so easy to overeat after all, who stops at a handful when they taste this good? Many seniors find themselves unwittingly consuming the equivalent of several cans of soda in natural sugar, amplifying the cycle of blood sugar spikes, insulin surges, and further inflammatory triggers. Before long, the legs that once carried you confidently through garden paths or neighborhood sidewalks begin to feel heavy and unreliable, as though the simple act of walking has turned into a chore rather than a pleasure. The irony is that grapes have long been celebrated for their antioxidants, notably resveratrol, which can benefit heart health and cellular repair. Yet the fructose content so often overshadows these potential advantages in aging bodies. For seniors who cherish grapes flavor but wish to protect their mobility, mindful strategies can help, limiting portions to just a small handful, enjoying them alongside protein or fiber to slow sugar absorption, or substituting berries with lower fructose levels and higher antioxidant profiles. By recognizing the hidden consequences of grapes' natural sweetness and adjusting consumption accordingly, older adults can reclaim both the joy of a refreshing fruit treat and the freedom of steady, pain-free steps that keep life's simplest pleasures within easy reach. 4. Watermelon. Few fruits embody the essence of summer as completely as watermelon. Its bright red flesh, punctuated by dark seeds and cradled in a thick green rind, seems custom designed to quench thirst and offer a light, guilt-free snack on sweltering afternoons. For many seniors, that crisp sweetness and near-pure water content create an irresistible illusion of harmless hydration. Yet beneath the cooling veneer of watermelon lies a hidden metabolic challenge, one that can quietly undermine leg strength, circulation, and joint comfort over time. Watermelon's defining characteristic, its exceptionally high water content, is precisely what makes it so appealing. But the same properties that allow the fruit to feel weightless and almost effortlessly refreshing also conceal a very high glycemic index. In practical terms, this means that a modest serving of watermelon can raise blood glucose levels nearly as rapidly as a sugary treat, triggering a cascade of physiological responses that aging bodies struggle to manage. After a few bites, the sugars dissolved in watermelon move swiftly into the bloodstream, prompting a surge of insulin whose purpose is to escort glucose into cells. Yet as we grow older, our insulin sensitivity often diminishes, and blood vessels, especially the microvessels responsible for nourishing muscles and joints in the legs, lose some of their elasticity. The result is a dual problem: elevated blood sugar that circulates too long in the bloodstream, and an insulin response that may overshoot or undershoot the mark, leaving tissues either inundated or starved of necessary fuel. This metabolic seesaw exerts stress on the cardiovascular system, micromillimeter by micromillimeter. When tiny capillaries in the calves, ankles, and feet receive inconsistent blood flow, muscles become starved of oxygen and essential nutrients. At first, this may register as a fleeting heaviness in the calves after a short walk, or a slight ache behind the knees when rising from a chair. Over weeks and months, however, these sensations deepen into a persistent dullness, a dragging onset of fatigue that makes each step feel heavier and each incline steeper. In addition, the inflammatory response sparked by erratic blood sugar and insulin levels contributes to low-grade swelling in joint tissues. Cartilage becomes more sensitive, synovial fluid can thicken, tendons and ligaments around the knee and ankle joints may stiffen. What began as a refreshing summer snack gradually becomes a stealthy accomplice in chronic discomfort. Compounding the issue is the way watermelon is typically consumed. Its juicy, breezy texture tempts many to reach for multiple slices in a single sitting, sometimes 2 or 3 pieces strung together on the same plate, or even an entire wedge shared casually at family gatherings. Unlike denser fruits that give a sense of fullness, watermelon's high water and fiber ratio gives only a fleeting impression of satiety, so the mind encourages just one more taste, while the body absorbs sugar at full tilt. For seniors who may already contend with compromised kidney function or heart-related fluid balance, the subtle sodium and sugar science at work can tip the scales toward mild fluid retention, manifesting as puffy ankles or swollen feet by evening. This swelling not only feels uncomfortable, it further hampers circulation, creating a feedback loop of diminished blood flow and increased inflammatory signaling. Perhaps most deceptively, watermelon's reputation as a hydrating, good-for-you fruit disarms caution. Many believe they are doing their bodies a favor by choosing something natural, wholesome, and vitamin-rich. While watermelon does contain beneficial nutrients, vitamin A precursors like lycopene, small amounts of B vitamins, and electrolytes such as potassium. These advantages can be outweighed by the rapid glycemic response in a body whose metabolic resilience has softened with age. The very qualities that make watermelon ideal for quenching midday thirst can, over time, sap muscular endurance in the legs and exacerbate joint stiffness. For seniors who prize both flavor and mobility, understanding this hidden dynamic can be liberating. It is not a call to abandon watermelon altogether, but an invitation to approach it with awareness. A few mindful strategies, such as limiting watermelon to a modest portion size, pairing it with a source of protein or healthy fats to slow sugar absorption, or choosing alternatives with lower glycemic impacts can preserve both the refreshing joy of this seasonal fruit and the vitality of every step taken thereafter. By recognizing that hydration and leg health require more than a single measure of sweetness, older adults can continue to savor summer's bounty without sacrificing the strength and freedom that come from well-nourished muscles and smoothly functioning joints. 5. Oranges. Oranges have long held a place of pride on breakfast tables and in health advice for their celebrated vitamin C content and bright, energizing flavor. Their vivid hue and sunny aroma evoke freshness and vitality, promising to fortify the immune system and brighten the day. Yet, for many seniors, especially those navigating the subtle challenges of aging joints and shifting metabolism, oranges can carry an overlooked burden. Beneath their cheerful exterior lies a potent combination of citric acid and natural sugars that, over time, can unwittingly undermine joint comfort and leg strength. When you bite into an orange or sip a glass of its juice, you are enjoying a generous dose of citric acid, a compound so tangy that it awakens the palate alongside a flood of fructose and glucose. In youth, our bodies handle this tandem comfortably. The acid is buffered by robust digestive linings, and the sugars are metabolized with ease. But as we grow older, our stomach linings can become more sensitive, and the joints we rely on for each step may already be carrying years of wear. Citric acid, coursing through the bloodstream after absorption, can irritate delicate joint tissues much like rubbing salt into a tender wound. Over weeks and months, that irritation does not announce itself with a dramatic flare, but rather with a muted persistence, a brief catch in the knee when rising from a chair, a gentle tug in the hip after prolonged sitting, or a lingering stiffness in the ankles first thing in the morning. At the same time, orange's natural sugars prompt a swift rise in blood glucose. While the body responds by releasing insulin, aging metabolisms do not always regulate these surges gracefully. Blood sugar spikes can damage the very blood vessels that deliver oxygen and nutrients to muscles and cartilage, leading to compromised circulation in the legs. When circulation falters, muscles no longer receive the steady stream of support they need, and joint tissues already sensitive from acid exposure become prone to low-grade inflammation. This convergence of metabolic strain and tissue irritation sets the stage for a pattern of discomfort that many seniors chalk up to just getting older without pausing to consider the role of their morning orange habit. The acid and sugar in oranges, therefore, join forces in a subtle yet consequential dance. Citric acid destabilizes joint linings, while glucose fluctuations fan the embers of systemic inflammation. The result can be maddeningly inconsistent. One morning you rise with near effortless ease, and the next you feel a dull ache trailing down the shin or a brief, sharp twinge behind the kneecap. Over time, these warning signs can coalesce into more persistent, challenging swollen joints that creak with each bend, muscles that tire quickly under even gentle exertion, and a general sense that the legs have lost some of their former resilience. Even when oranges are consumed with the best of intentions, perhaps squeezed fresh for health, or eaten in generous wedges to start the day, the cumulative impact can be significant. Seniors who believe they are doing their bodies a favor may instead be nurturing an environment in which cartilage damage and circulatory setbacks take root. After all, our bodies do not distinguish between natural sugar and its processed counterpart. Elevated glucose levels remain elevated glucose levels, regardless of the source. Likewise, citric acid remains a strong acid, capable of influencing tissues beyond the stomach's protective embrace. This is not to suggest that oranges must be banished altogether few pleasures compared to the first juicy segment on a warm morning, but to invite a more mindful approach. Pairing a few slender slices of orange with a handful of nuts or a spoonful of plain yogurt can help slow sugar absorption, while a modest portion size ensures that blood sugar and acid exposure remain within gentler bounds. Alternating citrus with other lower acid, lower sugar fruits, or simply savoring orange flavors through infusions of water rather than direct juice can preserve that sense of brightness without incurring the same metabolic cost. By honoring both the allure and the hidden load of oranges, seniors can continue to enjoy their refreshing taste while safeguarding the health of their joints and the strength of their legs. In doing so, each tangy bite becomes not a hidden source of strain, but a moment of mindful nourishment tone that respects the rhythms of an aging body and reinforces the promise of many comfortable, confident steps yet to come. 6. Green apples. Green apples have long been celebrated as a crisp, safe choice for anyone seeking a healthy snack, especially for those who find the sweetness of red varieties overwhelming. Their tart, refreshing bite seems to promise a balance of flavor without excessive sugar, and for many seniors, that perception makes green apples a go-to fruit at breakfast, midday, or even as an evening nibble. Yet beneath their bright, firm exterior lies a subtler story, one that binds together the twin influences of malic acid and naturally occurring sugars in ways that can quietly challenge the comfort, strength, and resilience of aging legs and joints. When a green apple is bitten into, its signature tang is owed to malic acid, a compound that, while integral to the fruit's complex flavor profile, can interact unexpectedly with the shifting physiology of older adults. In youth, digestive linings are robust and accommodating. They buffer the passage of dietary acids so effectively that even generous helpings of acidic foods rarely provoke discomfort beyond a fleeting twinge of indigestion. As time goes on, however, the protective layers of the gastrointestinal tract become more sensitive, and acids may reach the bloodstream in small but significant concentrations. Once there, malic acid doesn't simply vanish, it circulates, touching tissues far beyond the gut. Joint linings, already weathered by years of bending, lifting, and walking, can perceive that circulation as an irritant, subtly inflaming cartilage and synovial membranes. At first, a senior might notice only a momentary catch in the knee after standing from a low chair, or a dull ache that wraps around the hip when rising from bed. Such sensations are so mild and so easily attributed to the passage of years that the connection to a handful of green apple slices earlier in the day rarely comes to mind. Meanwhile, the sugars intrinsic to green apples, approximately 10 grams per medium fruit, enter the bloodstream more rapidly than the tongue can register sweetness. In younger bodies, the pancreas dispatches insulin efficiently, guiding glucose into cells with minimal disruption. But with the aging pancreas and the natural decline in insulin sensitivity, blood sugar surges become more pronounced. This not only places extra strain on the cardiovascular system, but also jeopardizes the microcirculation in the lower limbs. Tiny capillaries, already less elastic than they once were, can become narrowed or damaged by repeated exposure to elevated glucose levels. The muscles of the calves and thighs, deprived of their full complement of oxygen and nutrients, begin to tire prematurely. Seniors may remark that after a brief stroll, their legs feel heavy or lead-like, as though each step requires more effort than it once did. It is in these everyday moments, climbing a short flight of stairs, walking from the living room to the kitchen, that the compounded effects of acid irritation and vascular strain become most evident. Over time, the combination of malic acid's subtle assault on joint tissues and glucose-induced microvascular wear can coalesce into a pattern of low-grade inflammation. Cartilage may lose some of its former resilience, synovial fluid can thicken, and tendons around the ankle and knee joints may stiffen. These changes do not announce themselves with dramatic pain or sudden loss of function. Rather, they weave their influence into the fabric of daily life, A senior who once enjoyed the lightness of a morning walk through the garden may find that, after routinely snacking on green apples, the same path feels rougher. The legs may ache slightly when sitting for extended periods, and a sense of restlessness or nighttime cramps can disturb sleep. Yet, all the while, the appeal of green apples persists. They are easy to hold, easy to chew, and carry the aura of natural health that makes any caution feel counterintuitive. For older adults who wish to continue enjoying the fresh, invigorating taste of green apples without surrendering joint comfort or leg strength, a few mindful adjustments can transform the experience. Slicing a small wedge and pairing it with a source of protein such as a thin slice of cheese, a handful of nuts, or a dollop of plain Greek yogurt can slow the release of sugars into the bloodstream and moderate insulin response. Rinsing freshly cut apple slices in a mild alkaline solution, such as a small splash of baking soda-enhanced water, before serving may also reduce surface acidity, though any such technique should be gentle and brief to preserve flavor. Choosing slightly underripe apples, which contain marginally less sugar and acid than fully mature fruit, can further ease metabolic impact. And, perhaps most powerfully, listening closely to one's own body, paying attention to the subtle signs of stiffness or fatigue after apple consumption opens the door to informed choices rather than automatic habits. Green apples need not be abandoned, nor should they be cast as villains in the story of healthy aging. Instead, their role can shift from inadvertent saboteur to mindful indulgence, honored for their crisp brightness, yet enjoyed with an understanding of the body's changing needs. By pairing apples with complementary foods, moderating portion size, and heeding the body's messages, seniors can preserve both the pleasure of a tart, juicy snack and the freedom of strong, supple legs that carry them confidently through each day. In this way, a simple fruit becomes not only a testament to flavor, but also a catalyst for compassionate self-care, ensuring that every step remains as steady and invigorating as the first bite. 7. Mango. Mango has long been celebrated as the king of fruits, its golden flesh dripping with sweetness, and its fragrance instantly transporting one to sun-drenched orchards. Yet, for seniors whose bodies respond to sugar and acidity quite differently than in youth, this tropical delight can quietly become one of the most formidable adversaries to leg strength and joint comfort. A single cup of sliced mango contains roughly 23 grams of natural sugars, primarily fructose and glucose, which enter the bloodstream with surprising alacrity. In younger individuals, the pancreas swiftly secretes insulin to escort excess glucose into cells. But as we age, pancreatic efficiency often diminishes and insulin sensitivity gradually wanes. The result is that each mango-induced sugar surge lingers longer in circulation, exposing blood vessels to repeated glycemic shocks. These spikes do more than tax the endocrine system, they inflict microscopic stress on the very capillaries responsible for nourishing the muscles and joints of the legs. Over time, those tireless vessels stiffen and narrow, compromising oxygen delivery not only to calf and thigh muscles, but also to the cartilage and synovial membranes, which require steady nourishment to maintain resilience and lubrication. As if that were not enough, mango's sugars feed inflammatory pathways at a cellular level. Fructose, in particular, is known to promote the production of advanced glycation end products, AGEs, compounds that accumulate in joint tissues and accelerate the breakdown of collagen protein, vital for cartilage integrity and tendon strength. The accumulated effect may begin imperceptibly, manifesting as a fleeting tightness behind the kneecap after a leisurely stroll or a subtle heaviness in the calves when rising from a seated position. Yet, over weeks and months of habitual mango consumption, especially when enjoyed in ample portions without balancing proteins or healthy fats, this low-grade inflammation deepens. Cartilage becomes eroded, joint spaces narrow, and the soft tissues around ankles and hips swell ever so slightly, so that even the simple act of stepping down from a curb can feel like descending a steep slope. Mango's lush sweetness and soft texture encourage portion sizes that belie the metabolic toll they exact. When served fresh from a bowl, Its tender slices slip past the palate with little effort, fooling many into believing they are making a healthy choice, when in reality, they are unleashing a sugar cascade equivalent to sipping a sweetened beverage. For seniors who already contend with age-related metabolic changes, occasional indulgence risks becoming habitual, with each serving compounding the strain on microcirculation and joint tissues. The result is a pincer movement against leg strength. Muscles starved of oxygen and nutrients grow fatigued more quickly, while inflamed joints resist smooth movement, creating a feedback loop of diminished mobility. Nighttime may bring the added misery of restless, tingling sensations or mild cramps in the calves, as nerve endings, sensitized by inflammation, spark discomfort in the stillness, a stark contrast to the mango's sunny, carefree appearance. Furthermore, many seniors pair mango with other high glycemic foods, perhaps as part of a tropical smoothie or a fruit salad, lightly dusted with honey, thereby compounding the overall sugar load and amplifying insulin demand. When insulin surges reach a tipping point, the subsequent crash can leave one feeling lethargic, with legs that feel heavy and uncooperative. This metabolic yo-yo also disrupts the body's natural anti-inflammatory defenses, making it more difficult for the body to recover from everyday stresses and increasing the likelihood of chronic inflammation. Over months, the cumulative damage reveals itself in the grooves of daily life. Stairs that once posed no challenge become a source of dread. Garden walks are cut short by deep thigh aches. And even standing from a low chair can trigger a stabbing pain in the knees. Perhaps the most insidious aspect of mango's impact is that it hides behind a veneer of wholesomeness. It is, after all, a whole fruit, unprocessed, natural, brimming with vitamins A and C, as well as dietary fiber, so it feels inherently virtuous. Yet natural sugars exert the same physiological effects as their refined counterparts. The body's biochemistry does not discriminate between fructose from a mango and fructose from sweetened cereals. The acidity of mango, primarily from citric and malic acids, can further aggravate sensitive joint linings in older adults, subtly eroding cartilage and provoking synovial irritation, much like a whispered irritant rather than a conspicuous assailant. This is not an argument for never enjoying mango again, but rather for rediscovering it through the lens of mindful moderation. Seniors can continue to appreciate the fruit's vibrant color and luscious taste by adopting a few simple strategies. Limiting mango intake to a few small slices rather than a heaping bowl, pairing those slices with protein or healthy fat such as a dollop of Greek yogurt or a sprinkle of nuts to slow sugar absorption, or choosing to savor mango purees blended into a thicker, fiber-rich pudding rather than a diluted juice. Even alternating mango with lower glycemic fruits, berries, cherries, or avocado slice shelves preserve the thrill of exotic flavor without overwhelming the body's capacity to maintain balanced blood sugar and unburdened circulation. In essence, the relationship between seniors and mango must shift from one of unbridled enthusiasm to one of informed enjoyment. By recognizing that every bite carries both sweetness and a metabolic challenge, older adults empower themselves to steer clear of dietary pitfalls while still indulging in life's riper pleasures. In doing so, they not only protect the delicate vascular network and cartilage that underpin leg strength, but also honor the wisdom of a body that, though it may have slowed with age, still yearns for vitality, comfort, and the simple joy of a steady, confident step forward. You've seen the 7 fruits that could be working against you, not with a single dramatic betrayal, but through countless little sugar and acid assaults that add up over time. Now, the choice is yours. Will you let these hidden culprits continue to drain the power from your legs? Or will you swap them out for gentler alternatives that actually support your circulation and joint comfort? Share in the comments which fruit surprised you most, and tell us one change you're ready to make today. If this video opened your eyes, tap like, hit subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss another vital tip that keeps you walking strong. Remember, every step you take is worth protecting. Stay empowered, stay active, and keep your freedom in motion.